Hey y'all, happy Taboo Tuesdays. This is the WRDMTCN and I'm here at the People's Podcast, The Daily Smoke. You can tune in every day of the week at 7 p.m. for a great show. First, we want to start with our sponsors. Thank you so much to Bangin' 832 Radio. We appreciate your continuous support. Make sure you check our past episodes of The Daily Smoke on Sundays at 7, www.bangin832.com. Shout out to Tamia's Touch of Care Massage Therapy and Personal Training. To get with life, get a massage.
Touch my body.
September 10th, 2022 from 8 to 2 a.m. is the Park Coalition 35th anniversary concert. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. Pre-sales only $25. It's $30 for general admission at the door. You can go to thedailysmoke.com for more info on all our affiliates and sponsors. And remember, every first and third Saturday, you can check out the Buy Black Market at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. This is a great, incredible opportunity to find out who's doing what in the community and how you can help support them. So if you are a Black artist or a Black vendor of a great care product, you can always check out how to get exposure with the Black market as well as the community in and around the Sunnyside and South Park area. Make sure you hit that Cash App, y'all. $TD Smoke, and support the progress because we growing and you need to keep up. Today with me, I have a very special guest. A lot of times people think that the only topics that are taboo are considered to be, religion, politics, and sex because, oh my God, people fuck. But one thing that I think is the most relevant topic is taking a leap. And so this is Kennedy Lowery. I'll let her introduce herself.
So my name is Kennedy Lowery, and I am the artisan and owner of a small handcrafted line of bath and body products called Live by Being.
And yesterday we were having a conversation and she was sharing with me just the passions of her experience building her business, experiencing the newness of being a business owner, entrepreneurship altogether, not having a crutch or a supplement, but just completely dependent upon her hands. And what was really, really pivotal in the conversation for me was I'm still on the side of the cliff, like, wait, is this seriously the opportunity that we are missing because we're just not doing what we're supposed to? So concerned with what everybody else is doing that we hold on to an idea that was so capable of freeing so many people. And so it's ironic, maybe, but I'd call it so on time and of lines that the serendipity of the way in which I experience life is synchronized. And I just want to talk to you about whatever comes because it's a very extemporaneous experience. But as we were talking before we got on air, you were sharing, like, it's funny about, creating a business and how you start. How did you start Live by Being? Where were you?
So when I started Live by Being, I was working in real estate full time, and I had worked my way up the corporate ladder, and I got into a position that felt really stressful. Ultimately, I had put career first. That had been like how I had lived all of my 20s, ever since I graduated college. I've been working since I was 17. I didn't know anything else. Went to school, got the degrees, and still continued to work. And I woke up one day, I want to say about 4 months shy of my 30th birthday, and I just realized I'm not happy, and I think it was a really difficult thing for somebody like me who's a perfectionist and a hard worker to say, I have all these things, I've checked all these boxes on my list, and I'm still not happy. And what am I going to do about that? And the first thing that came to my mind was, I could really use some more time with myself. I could really learn to start loving myself and just taking more time for me. I've been living for everybody else, the expectations of the world, the expectations of my job. Let me just take some time for me. And so I started back taking baths. Baths were something that were my alone time when I was growing up. I grew up in foster care. I spent quite a bit of time in group homes, and you shared rooms a lot. I mean, all of your time was spent around other people, essentially. So you got very little time to yourself. Baths was the one time that I could have to myself. And so I just remembered that, and I started taking baths. And just being able to take that time and spend that time with myself, I was able to rediscover all of the things that reading, I had been making this bath oil for myself for about 2 years. And so I started back remaking that and using that in my bath. And one transformation just kind of led to another transformation. I started going to the gym. I started eating better. I just started taking care of myself the way I would typically take care of other people, right? Because that was my model. That was how I decided how I was going to love myself, by how I loved other people. And so I started taking care of myself in that way, just being really intentional. And everybody around me, they were like, what are you doing? What's different about you? And I was like, oh, well, these are things that I've been doing, and thank you for noticing. And they were like, we think you have something here. They were just like, just in you sharing your story with us, I now want to go take some more time for myself. I think that you have something here. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I do. And so then I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe I'll launch a product on Amazon. Maybe I'll launch my bath oils on Amazon. And so I started thinking about it. And once again, my perfectionism didn't really go anywhere, right? I think the difference in my approach to getting started on my entrepreneurship journey was that I still had love for myself. And with that love came respect. And with that love came trust. With that love came patience. And so over the span of an entire year, I took time to say, what does this really look like? And is this something that's going to work out for me? And just in asking the questions, the answers came, the opportunities came for me to be able to create this vision of a company. And so it got really close to the time where it was time for me to invest my savings, my hard-earned money, and really, really just kind of go for it. And I started to get nervous because this wasn't the first time that I tried entrepreneurship. I tried it right out of college, and it didn't work because I didn't have that faith in myself. I chose the safe route, which was to go and get a job. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I'm worthy of being taken a chance on, right? Like, I'm worthy of that. And I would rather try and fail to say that I did this for myself than to have never tried at all. And so I made the decision that day on the couch, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to launch the brand. I'm going to do all of this for myself. And that's how it all happened.
What is the most frustrating part of the experience you went through in the pandemic?
So the most frustrating part, I think, was my studio space that I had just gotten into had to be closed because everybody was quarantining and isolating. But the visibility on Black businesses and on online products themselves exploded. And so here's this huge opportunity for me to be able to really expose my brand to the market and really give these products to people. I felt like more then than ever, people really needed the reminder to take some time to take care of themselves, to love on themselves, to be able to turn home into an oasis because they couldn't leave, essentially. And so it was difficult watching that need be there and not necessarily being able to meet it to the full extent that I knew that I could.
The perfection, yeah. and the servant's heart. Okay.
Right.
I know you mentioned, and I know from previous conversations that you did grow up in the system.
Yeah.
How do you feel the system is today as it was when you were a child?
God, I would say that it's not all too much different, unfortunately. I think that the system is set up to provide a bed and a plate of food to children who've been removed from their home. And we all know that it takes much more than that to raise a child. I can never remember ever at any point in my childhood anyone asking me, what do you dream of becoming? Not once. It was, grow up and get a job so that you can support yourself, so that you can survive. It was never about living, right? Children need so much more than just a bed and food in their mouth. And I feel like that is ultimately what the system provides. It doesn't provide much stability. It puts Band-Aids on the mental health issues. It doesn't provide loving homes for these children. Right now, today, there are 430,000 children sitting in foster care that would love to have a home, right? That would love to have stability, that would love to have parents that believe in them. They don't have that, And so while I think that it's improved in some ways, in a lot of ways, it's still failing the children. And that's why they say that it really is one system that feeds the next system. It's one system. I had somebody tell me one time, if you were on welfare right now in housing somewhere, nobody could blame you for what you went through.
Statistically.
Right. Statistically.
Do you, Do you notice the feedback of facial expressions when you release your private information about your history and how you were raised?
Oh yeah, people are surprised. You know, usually that's what I get, right? It's either I get the surprise or I get sympathy.
Oh, like you poor thing.
Yeah, but
Not
mostly
you resilient beast because
right,
you make shit happen,
right. It's
but like oh woo woo.
how did she do that? And then there starts to become this where they start to pick it apart in their mind. Like, what is it about her? You know, is it because of the way she looks that she was given handouts or that she was given preferential treatment? You know, oh, it must be because she was adopted. Well, I wasn't adopted until I was an adult. So no, it wasn't that, you know. It was my resilience. It was my spirit. It was my fight for myself. It was a promise that I made myself when I was 8 years old, which was like, I'm going to give you the best life possible. I'm going to use everything in my power to give you the best life possible. And I've never forgotten that promise. So it was me deciding that I was going to be both child and parent at 8 years old and carrying that with me so that I could graduate high school in 3 years instead of 4, so that I can complete a college degree and go on and have a successful career in real estate for over a decade, to then go on and decide to become an entrepreneur. I did that for me, right? You know, and so I think that I always try to teach people the importance of self-sufficiency. So one of the things that I wanted to do when I launched my company was I wanted to find a way to contribute to children that were in the foster care system, to be able to convey that message to them because it wasn't conveyed to me. And so I launched a social mission called Being Fostered, and where I take a portion of all of my revenue and I donate it to organizations like Together We Rise, and Sorrow. These organizations cater to children that are in the foster care system to sort of bridge the gap between just a bed and food and offer them so much more, like bicycles for their birthday or trips to Disneyland, a duffel bag so that they're not, you know, taking all their belongings and carrying them around in trash bags. And Sorrow provides scholarships that bridge the gap so that they can, you know, actually finish college and not have to work themselves through college. You know, what about the need for the car? What about the need for the bedding? What about, you know, yes, it's wonderful that, you know, some states like the state of Texas will pay for tuition, but what else?
Room and board.
Right. What comes beyond that, right? So that these children are able to have a traditional college experience. You know, what comes when everybody goes home for the holidays from the dorm rooms and they don't have a home to go to? You know, so it's so I wanted to basically donate to companies that I felt like were trying to bridge that gap so that these children could have some sense of normalcy to take with them into their adulthood.
You know, your passion is very admirable. I really appreciate it. If y'all watch any episode of Taboo Tuesdays, you'll remember like the people that come here are literally doing something that is not being done anywhere else, even if it is by hand.
Right.
It makes it so much more valuable that it wasn't manufactured with your logo on the label,
Right.
but that you set your intentions, that you created a sacred moment to do something that somebody would benefit from for a very long time.
Yeah.
I remember I met Kennedy at an event where we were celebrating a mutual friend's, you know, really big deal celebration, and just learning, like I'm sitting in front of a CEO of a company that literally she makes her own product. You know, one of our sponsors, Tamia Anderson, I really want to introduce you to because she uses her hands to help people heal. And it's like the whole sense of this community of people who are utilizing the tools they have. Like, you can't buy my hands, you cannot buy my voice, but you can definitely value what we do and say.
Right.
And I love that. I love that. I'm really interested in the target market. Now, I know you are more Neiman Marcus than Walmart or Family Dollar, but I don't think you can afford not to make the investment to care about yourself. I feel like your self-care, and I say this every week, like your self-care is as valuable as the light bill. Like if your light is dim, you are not effective. You know what I mean? And so for the individual who is working at Walmart on their feet 8 to 10 hours a day, for the individual working at Target 3 days a week, 12 hours, for the individual who's working at FedEx 4 days a week, 3 hours, for the individual working at UPS 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for anybody who is considered essential, who is still transitioning from a pandemic, whose employers may only give them 3 days of bereavement, for people who are being peopling in life.
Yeah.
What would you tell them to do to prepare to afford such a luxury as to live by being?
I would say, first of all, create the intention that you deserve it, right? Because if that belief is not in your heart, how can the resources for you to receive it ever appear? So create the intention that I'm worthy of whatever it is that I desire, right? So if you look on my website and you see, okay, I really want that $36 bottle of milk bath. I deserve it. I work really hard. I want to soak my feet in it, but I can't quite make it work. Even if you got to put away $5 a paycheck, you know, even if it's not my product, even if it's a course that you want to take because you want to better yourself. I saved for my company. I not only had to save for my company, but I had to spend a couple of years getting my credit to the point where I would be credit worthy for a business loan, which, by the way, I still was dismissed for. It took me years to invest in myself before I could actually do what it was that I believed I was capable of doing. I was still getting up every day, going to work, giving 120%, but I still kept the dream alive in my heart. And I fought for believing that I was worthy of that. Never let anybody tell you that there is a single thing on this planet that you're not worthy of, because you are worthy of it. Once you believe that in your heart, create a plan for it. Create a plan for it and be willing to sacrifice for that, because you're not sacrificing for the product, you're sacrificing for yourself. Because when you get that product, the product will be used and gone. But what you won't forget was that you were able to do that for yourself. So that is the advice that I would give.
I better listen. Do you take your advice?
Yes.
How do you apply the product that you put together? How does that interact with you day to day?
So I use all of my skincare products daily and weekly. Because it keeps me from breaking out, right? Like, it's all natural. It's really good. And, you know, if I don't take, my skin changed after I turned 30 and I just started to be more susceptible to breakouts. I have combination skin all of a sudden. And so by using my products, it's just keeping up with it consistently. To me, it reiterates the love that I have for myself. You know, you and I talked a little bit about how my self-love journey led to a spiritual awakening, and it led to a lot of inner child work and healing the things that I experienced as a child. And so as I'm doing this work to heal those things and to, you know, remove these false beliefs that they were instilled in me and restore myself, this is the physical affirmation of me restoring myself, right? So even if I didn't have the best day, even if I, you know, my perfectionism rears its head and I feel like I still didn't get enough done today, you know, I still didn't meet the numbers that I wanted to meet today, I'm still going to go home and physically love on myself. And so I'm reiterating to myself, even in your imperfection, you're lovable, right? And so that's what I do. And then when I have my baths regularly. In the baths, there's just something about water and the stillness of it and the quiet of being in a bath that soothes my soul. And I know that I have that moment, even if I don't have any other moment, you know, and being able to smell the scents and decide which scent I want to use. I get very intentional about the bath time. I add, you know, flowers to it. I add some additional essential oils beyond the ones that already come in the products. You know, I draw the water a certain way so that I can stay in it a little bit longer. I get my books, fruit, you know, all of these different things, and I really create this moment at home for me.
So your fingers look like prunes because you are in this.
Because I am in there. Yes.
You're in this experience.
I will boil some water in a tea kettle and sit it on the side of the tub so that I can continue to add hot water to the bath to make it really work. Like, that's my moment, and nobody can take that moment from me. And I feel like when we go into the restroom every day, it's the one moment, whether you have 5 kids, whether you are home taking care of an elderly parent, you know, whether you have dogs or whatever the case may be, when you go into the restroom to groom yourself for the day, that is your time. And you get to do whatever you want with that time. So you just get to get really intentional about turning it into a moment of self-care, of self-love. I'm going to love on you. It may be the only love you got that day, right?
Well, you better last. I tell you what, if you, shamelessly, I would plug this. If you take deep breaths effectively, you inflate your lungs to a capacity of its threshold being enough to carry enough love for self so other people can just be attracted to the process of trying to figure it out. And when you show people how you get through your day with peace and elevation, you get to a space where you're actually able to enjoy the articulation of quiet. There is an art of doing nothing. There is an art to being still. And some of you are best ill. Some of y'all just got to let somebody just call you down to the lowest part of the cushion of your sofa just so you can be still. And that's fine, you know, whether you are stubborn and go until you can't no more, whether you work through the day till you faint, or if you even allow yourself to be so bold as to take time What you're learning, if you're still working for somebody else, is how to manage your time. You know, if you get to go to a job as opposed to standing in line for hours only to ask for assistance and possibly be denied, the investment, there's no return on that besides a turnaround. And facing yourself in a mirror is not always the quick to, because so many people are afraid to see them. But when you have self-love and you take pride in the fact that you got up, that was enough. Sometimes your feet just got to hit that floor because it puts you in a space of being able to explore life in a way with your eyes wide, as opposed to too narrow to understand this road can go so many ways. It doesn't matter if you work at McDonald's, you better flip them burgers and make them fries like your life depending on it, because it's too much to consume every single day. But it's nice when you can see a face actually look forward to seeing yours. And if you actually look up, you can see yourself be seen, and it's not too scary. It's nice to be acknowledged. It's nice to be noticed. It's nice when they note it when you're not, because your absence is such a space of existence. It still matters when you're not in the most space of knowing. That's why we miss people after they've transitioned. That's why we literally feel like we're suffocating because we're not next to them. And I know you know what I'm saying. Like, I know so many people don't have hope to see anybody anymore. And some people don't even have hope to get past the front door. So they don't understand what it's like for somebody who found some tools they could use to get through.
Right.
The fact that most of my entrepreneur friends don't have insurance or assurance to get sick. They cannot just bounce back. They got to keep going.
Yeah.
They work until they die. And I'm just like, hold on now. There has to be a way where you can actually take time, because your moments are valuable. However long it takes you to prepare the sacred space, to prepare what's going to take someone 30 minutes to enjoy, like, I know that is valuable. Mm-hmm. And you probably don't even charge us the value of your time. The fact that your mind was big enough to make that design. But I really appreciate the fact that you have all the tools you need to process your own grief.
Yeah.
You have access to beautiful souls.
Yeah.
And even if it's not anything but going on your reviews and being reminded, like, you started something because you had an idea.
Right.
Right? Like, your thoughts are that big, that beautiful. And even though somebody didn't decide to invest in what you've done, like, I know, man, y'all, I enjoy my best by living by being. Like, literally just, I take my bubble bath in the morning and it makes my day so much better. And I notice when I don't. I didn't take a bubble bath today.
Yeah.
And I was susceptible to all the ways that people could say I didn't prepare for it, because I did not allot a lot of time for extended spaces of traffic or the jams of trying to, like, put so much in a small space. You know? Right. But I appreciate the grace of understanding. I appreciate the safety, because had I been on time, I could have not necessarily been here, but maybe, you know, a part of the accident that I was behind for like damn near 30 minutes. Right. Like, we don't always just take acknowledgement or take heed to what we get to do. But it is a pleasure to get to sit with you. It's a pleasure to have this much access to somebody who actually did something because they believed in themselves. And I can only imagine for anybody who has started something and thought it didn't go, sometimes your idea is exposed too soon. It's an incubation process. You have to let your roses bloom so those thorns don't do too much pricking when you allow yourself to see exactly where the stem should be placed and touched. And there's a grace and space that you have to account for. But make sure you go, what's your website?
Livebybeing.co.
Literally, y'all. Yeah. We'll make sure that you have access to support Kennedy, because even though she's transitioning to a different space, like, while supplies last, y'all should sell it out. Like, it's amazing. The face masks are great. They don't make you itch. Thank you. Of course. Thank you so much. Yes. My skin is sensitive.
Yeah.
But y'all, this has been a really fun tidbit of a Taboo Tuesday, where we don't talk about things that make you uncomfortable. We inspire and encourage you to get off your ass and do something too. There's somebody who is so tired of going through the same mundane processes. And even if you're supposed to, for this time being, at least you can live by being and do it a little more effectively. See y'all next week.